Welcome to week 4 of public speaking. We will be going through chapters 7 through 10 this week, and let's get started. So, we're going to start getting ready to do our speech. Right? This week, your first outline is due. You'll get a second chance at that outline. And then the following week, so 2 weeks from now, you will do your first speech. So please prepare. So what precisely is your speech about? Well, this speech is about you. It is also an informative speech in a way because you're giving us information. So the goal of the speech is to let us know about you or something that interests you. What specifically do you want my listeners to know or do? We want them to get a better understanding of you. Now, the people you'll be speaking in front of probably know you already, but I don't. So make it so that they may learn something new, and of course I will definitely learn something new. So we begin with this introduction speech about you, which is also an informative speech, and that is your second speech, although that's a more wider range topic. So an informative speech is a speech to inform your audience something they may or may not already know. Steer clear of overusing or overused and trivial topics. Try brainstorming, try coming up, and this is not for this first speech, of course, because you are talking about yourself, but your speech, your informative speech that comes after this, you could tell us about just about anything. You could teach us how to make cookies, as I've said before, a pizza, how wine is made. There are many things you can do. Can you tell my favorite things? You can explain to us what dirt bike racing is all about or how to go whale watching. These are all informative speeches. So you want to think outside the box. Use the internet, do some searches, come up with a fun topic that would interest your audience. You need a general speech purpose, and we went over this a few weeks back. There are three main ones: to inform, to persuade, or to mark a special occasion, which is to entertain. You'll be doing all three of these. To inform, you intend to increase the audience's understanding and awareness by imparting knowledge. You're sharing something with them. Now, even if the listener is already familiar with the topic, present it with the goal of offering something new to them. So, with informative topics, you can talk about objects, people, events, processes, how something is made, issues, and it's something that you feel strongly about. So, informative is a great topic for a speech because you could do just about anything. The one thing you don't have to do is convince us of something. And that would be the persuasive speech. The persuasive speech, the purpose is to affect some degree of change in the audience's beliefs. So you want to talk about your side of an issue and get them to come to your side. Persuasive speech are appropriate when the audience feels considerably different about something than you do, or they hold similar attitudes on the topic, but they need some direction for it, like they're not quite sure how they feel about it, or they agree with your position but is likely to encounter opposing information or circumstances in the future. So you could say something in your persuasive speech like, I understand you might feel this way, but let me tell you why I think it should be different. Special occasion speeches, these can be very fun. They could also be eulogies, which is not really fun, but a eulogy is, it's quite a commitment. It is something where you want to talk about the joy of that person's life without making too many jokes or, making it too lighthearted because people are grieving, but you also want to make sure you celebrate that person's life. It's definitely a commitment speech. An acceptance speech, let's hope we all have to do one of those one of these days. A toast, many of you will have to do those. If you're in a wedding, best man, maid of honor, I'm sure some of you have done them already. Everyone's watching you, you've got a microphone in your hand, you probably already had some champagne or you're about to, and you need to give a speech. So we're going to get you through it. The specific speech purpose. We talked about this already. This is how we refine to get to how to create the speech. We create the thesis statement. What is it about? What is my topic about, and what will my audience learn? The thesis statement is the theme or central idea of the speech. The specific purpose describes the action, so to inform my audience of, now let's see if I have it here. So to use the thesis statement to guide the speech, and you make the thesis statement relevant. So here's my little descriptions here. My specific purpose is to inform my audience about being a vegetarian. Very cut and dry, right? To inform my audience about something. That's a specific purpose. Okay? But my thesis statement goes even further. To inform my audience that being a vegetarian will allow you to live longer, be healthier, and show respect to animals. So I've enlarged that, and I've covered what's going to happen in my speech. So developing supporting materials. So to support this, I want to find information that I can talk about that helps people understand. It arouses their interest. I can give examples. I can tell a story, which you know I like the stories. I can give statistics about how people live an average of 12 years longer, and that is a statistic, if they are vegetarians. A testimony from somebody. I can find a 100-year-old man who said he's been a vegetarian for all his life and lived to be 100. Well, that could be helpful. And facts, of course. Facts are very, very helpful. So listeners respond most favorably to a variety of different materials. Okay? Alternate among the different types. You could use facts and with some statistics, and then you could tell a story, and you can quote so-and-so, the 100-year-old man. It makes it more interesting if you use different sources. Use examples. An example. Well, my example to you is that I have this friend named Joe, and he turned 100 this year, and Joe says that it's because he doesn't eat meat, and he just eats a plant-based diet, and that and the good Lord have kept him alive for 100 years. Well, there's my example and my expert. A narrative is telling a story. We've talked about this before. You can do personal narratives or third person. I can tell Joe's story. Successful stories will strike a chord and create an emotional connection with the speaker and the audience. That's why I love stories. It's the one thing I want you to take away from this is the better you are at storytelling, or the more you can add a story into your speech, the more you will connect with your audience. Testimony we spoke of. He's going to testify that that's why he's alive. You want to cite that person's qualifications. Now, Joe's qualifications is that Joe's 100 years old. That qualifies him to be an expert in this instance. And cite the time and place that you originally got this information. If I got it from a third party, like I looked it up on the internet, I have to say that according to the New York Times website, Joe Schmidt, 100 years old, says that he's lived this long because he's a vegetarian. That is my source's credibility. Statistics are big. That people live 12 years longer because they eat a plant-based diet. Hopefully when we're done with this class, I'll have you all trying to be vegetarians. But so I can actually see through the screen many of you shaking your head no. But that's okay. And then use visual aids whenever possible, of course. Always present your statistics ethically. People can find out when you're not telling the truth. Present the statistics just as you got them. Absolute truth. And don't cherry pick. Don't pick a piece of a statistic here and then some of a statistic there. You have to use the whole thing if you're going to use it. So, finding materials. Reviewing your speech thesis and goals to determine what you must address in your speech. This is how you set up what materials you'll need. You go through your thesis. I have my 3 things I'm going to talk about. Now I can research those 3 things. That you'll be healthier, that you'll be, what did I say, happier, and that we protect animals. So I can do 3 different searches if I want to do internet searches. If I want to, does anyone go to the library anymore? If I wanted to go to the library. But you want to have these sources you can go to, both primary and secondary, meaning main sources and then secondary sources, of course, and use those for your speech. Library portal can help you. This can also be online library, and you could Google, which I'm sure most of you will do, Google your results. Google Scholar is a much better choice because you know those are scholarly articles and they can be trusted. It's trusting the news nowadays that seems to be a big issue. So you have to just make sure that your sources are credible. Consider your personal knowledge and experience. I have personally been a vegetarian for almost 30 years, so I can attest to its benefits. That does make me an expert. So your personal knowledge and experience can make you an expert as long as it's credible. You could interview people. I could interview Joe. Joe, I wanted to find out, our buddy Joe, the 100-year-old. But I want to avoid vague questions, like just out there questions. So, what's it like not to eat meat? That's a very vague question because his answer is probably going to be, well, it's good. You're probably shaking your head again. Avoid leading questions, like a question like, isn't it true that it's better to be a vegetarian? Now, that's not fair. I just kind of gave him an answer. I led him to answer in a certain way. And avoid loaded questions. Those are that are phrased to reinforce my agenda. Aim to create neutral questions. Never ask a yes or no questions in an interview, by the way, because you will get a yes or a no. That you want to ask them to elaborate. You want to get good information from them. Ask simple, open-ended questions and follow-up questions. While they're answering, you may come up with another question that has to do with that question. Absolutely, ask that question. Research, prepare, and really, really important, listen. We talked about listening last week. I wonder if any of you tried being really intent listeners. You can use social media sites. One of the things I'm going to stress for you is make sure they're reputable. They usually have up-to-the-minute information and news, and they can give you great speech topics, but double check. Make sure it's on 3 different sources so that you know that you're telling the truth. And this is really interesting, the difference between information propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation. So information is a set of data. It's a set of stuff that's sitting there that helps you to make a decision. It's information. Propaganda is information represented in such a way that it provokes a desired response. This is putting something out there because they want somebody to feel something. It was used a lot during World War II. It was used by Adolf Hitler. It was putting out, and in that situation, bad information about America so that the Germans would hate America and they would fight against America, even though that information was not true. Then there's misinformation, something that is not true, wrong, urban legend, not true, we don't know where it came from. And then there's disinformation, deliberately giving false information. So misinformation means we got it wrong. Disinformation is I am purposely going to put this out here and I am lying through my teeth. And that's very bad. Citing your sources in a speech. This is important information here. Not that none of the other has been, but credit people you speak of. Credit experts. Avoid plagiarism or taking credit for anyone else's speech information. So if you're going to say 12 people live 12 years longer when they're vegetarians, if I'm going to say that in a speech, I need to credit somebody with that. I need to say, according to the medical journal, of Chicago, they have done research which states. And then at the end, I believe I said this last week, you're going to put in at the end of your PowerPoint, your sources. When you need to give credit, information drawn from other people's ideas. If you got anything from another source, facts, statistics, any information you didn't rightly know on your own and found on the internet or in a book or a newspaper or a magazine, you need to give those people credit. And not necessarily to credit is common knowledge. If everybody knows it, if you already knew it when you said it, then you don't need to give anyone credit for it. Alert your audience that you are using other people's work. Tell them who the author is, the type of source, it was a magazine, it was an online article, the title of it, and the date of the source. And this can all be done in a slide at the end of a PowerPoint. Be sure to credit the material in any accompanying aids as you would your speech. So if you use pictures not so much as video and audio. If you just use a clip art to make a point in a slide, you don't have to credit everybody in every single clip art you use. But if you use a piece of video at the end of your PowerPoint, you need to tell us where that video came from. If you're going to use audio, and they're even stricter with that, someone's song playing through your speech, or I don't know why you would do that, but or you're doing a speech about a song and you want to play the song, you need to credit the people who wrote that song, sang that song, and where you got it from. So when you use copyrighted material, like a photograph, it is clearly labeled with a copyright symbol, then you should probably source it. You don't find that much any longer in clip art. And here is a website where you can go to understand APA formatting. This will help you in any course you do, and I also have a video that I have in our resources folder that I created to help you through APA formatting. This is more for papers you will write in your schooling. I just put it here to help you out in case you need it. And your assignment for this week. You're going to put together your introductory outline. So here's what it looks like. It's on Blackboard. You're going to give it a title, and then you're going to put your name. Then you're going to give us your specific purpose. And your specific purpose should start with, to inform my audience. And it can go from there, to inform my audience about me. And then with your specific, with your thesis statement, you can write, to inform my audience about me through my work, my family, and my job. Well, that would be your work, but you can have three. Three of them always work best. That would be your thesis statement. You're going to tell us a little bit about your introduction, and your introduction should contain your thesis statement. Like today, I'm going to talk to you about myself through my job, my family, and something else, my exercise habits. How about that? And then we have to understand how you're going to transition. So you will have had to plan how your intro is going to end and say, so I'd like to begin today with, or something to that nature. And then in the body, you're going to give us a sentence on each of the three things you're going to talk about. Not just what they are, but a sentence about how you're going to talk about them. And a transition into your conclusion. Your conclusion should contain your thesis statement once again, similar to, so today I told you about myself through my family, my job, and my workout habits. I hope you enjoyed it. Do you have any questions? You always finish your speech with, I'll take questions now. Do you have any questions? I'd love to hear questions. Something about questions. It's the professional thing to do. And as you see right below at the bottom there, it says bibliography. That's where you will copy and paste any resources you use, whether they were websites or magazines or anything else. You need to copy and paste the website URL address right there where it says bibliographies. And this can be expanded. I just made it fit the slide. So this is what's due by next Sunday. I will get it. I will give you any notes I might have on it to make sure you're on the right track. And then I will allow you to hand it in again the following week in preparation for your introductory speech. So have a great week, and I look forward to meeting with you again.